How's it going, everybody? C-RadTV back here in our video. So, of course, the 2023 NFL Draft for the Lions is come and gone. And after the draft, we have 8 new players to now welcome. And we also have the final wrap-up to the Matt Stafford trade. But anyway, we got 8 players introduced here. Finally going to get around to doing the draft recap. So, I'm going to go through all players, go through all the things you need to know about the players, and I'll give you my thoughts on each pick. But yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and let's jump right into it. Let's go. So the first player we're going to go over here, taken with the 12th overall pick in the draft after the Lions traded down from 6 to 12 with the Arizona Cardinals. Mainly because I believe the Lions either wanted Will Anderson or Devin Witherspoon at 6, and neither of them were there, so it made sense to trade down. But with that 12th pick, the Lions selected, hailing out of Alabama, standing 5'11", weighing 200 pounds, running back Jahmyr Gibbs. So for Jahmyr, some things to know about him: his college career at Alabama and Georgia Tech. He had 383 rushes for 2,132 yards in college, averaging 5.6 yards a carry with 15 rushing TDs. He also had 103 catches for 1,212 yards, averaging 11.8 yards per reception, with 8 receiving touchdowns. He also had 44 kick returns for 1,052 yards, averaging 23.9 yards a return and 1 return TD. He, of course, split his career at Alabama and Georgia Tech, went to Georgia Tech from 2020 and 2021, and played at Alabama last year. Had a 92.6 receiving grade on PFF from 2020 to 2022, which is the highest among all FBS running backs, even higher than Bijan Robinson. So arguably one of the top running backs in the class. 2022 third team in AP All-American, All-Purpose All-American. Was also on the All-SEC second team in 2022. In 2022, he led Alabama with 44 receptions, which is second most an Alabama running back has produced in a season. He also finished third in the SEC in rushing average, with averaging 6.1 yards per carry. He was also 7th in total yards at 926 in 2022. He was also a first team. He was also on the All-ACC first team in 2021. Also, second year in a row, the Lions drafted an Alabama player at 12, which is the first time since 1978 that the Lions have selected players from the same school in the first round in back-to-back drafts. He's also the 4th highest drafted running back in Lions franchise history since 1970. And he's the highest drafted running back by the Lions since the Lions drafted Barry Sanders back in 1989. And Alabama also becomes the first school that Brad Holmes has selected from multiple times during his tenure. Some strengths about him. Of course, like I mentioned, Georgia Tech transfer made an immediate impact as a big play threat after he transferred to Alabama. But possesses the 3-down skill set, home run ability, perfect fits in the modern game. Big playability comes from a combination of very good straight line speed. More than that, though, otherworldly acceleration. No one in this class goes from 0 to 60 faster than Jahmyr Gibbs, not even Bijan Robinson. He obliterates pursuit angles in the process. Good as any back in his draft working in space. His sense for scent of defenders makes him completely whiff is unmatched. He's best in the outside zone, but also has a quick feet and spatial reasoning to run power. Hands are outstanding. Ability to make catches away from his frame. Body control to still turn off targets in the big gains in the catch and run scenarios. Capable of taking snaps as a slot receiver as well. Terms of weaknesses, though, more comfortable working on the perimeter and in space. Relatively small frame. Far more elusive than he is powerful as a runner. Doesn't show that kind of lower body push to pile power to consistently grind between the tackles. More of a lightning combo back than someone who can serve in a workhorse capacity. In terms of NFL comparisons, had a lot of comparisons to a free agent running back Lamar Miller. But overall for him, unlikely to become a 20-touch per game back, but he's a matchup nightmare for linebackers. Has the hand, speed, and creativity to be a force as a check-down option. As an increasingly critical role as more defenses play split safety shells. He doesn't have the incredible contact balance of Alvin Kamara, but he does have a valuable change of pace back and could thrive in a Kamara-type role for a creative offensive coordinator. The good news is he will have that with Ben Johnson. So, yeah, Also, a lot of comparisons to Alvin Kamara with the New Orleans Saints. And Kamara, of course, is a player that Dan Campbell worked very closely with during Campbell's time in New Orleans. But yeah, 100%, Jameer is a very talented player, yes. I'm kind of, though, still against taking running backs in the first round. Because running back success in this league nowadays is heavily dictated based on how good your offensive line is. The good news for Jahmyr Gibbs is he's going to have a chance to succeed right off the bat. Since the Lions have one of the top O-lines in the league, You got 3, maybe 4 caliber Pro Bowlers on that O-line with Frank Ragnow anchoring it. You also got Jonah Jackson there at a guard. Even brought back Graham Glasgow. Now, whether Glasgow can return to the form he had in Detroit before he left is yet to be seen. But you also got the blind side blocked pretty well off, too, with Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell. So Jahmyr Gibbs going to have a chance to succeed right off the bat. And if he doesn't end up being a 20-touch guy, they also got David Montgomery to help split those carries, too. So the Lions did a really good job upgrading the running back core, swapping out DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams for David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And really, the main reason the Lions made this pick at 12 was because they were looking at getting rid of DeAndre Swift. Because, yes, as talented as DeAndre was, he just couldn't stay healthy. And in this league, it doesn't matter how talented you are. If you can't stay healthy in this league, you won't survive in this league. And you know what? You can blame the medical staff all you want for it. At the end of the day, equal blame has to fall on DeAndre Swift in that situation because he's not taking care of his body off the field. Because there's only so much the medical staff can do to help DeAndre Swift. But at the end of the day, it's up to DeAndre to take advantage of those tips he's getting from the medical staff or not. And it's been very clear as day, he hasn't been taking those tips serious. Because he's got banged up every fucking year. But yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, very solid pick, I was very big shock over it. But, definitely, I think definitely this pick, it was definitely Brad Holmes doing his best Steve Eisman impersonation. When Steve Eisman took Moritz Sider a few years ago at the 6th overall pick when nobody saw it coming. But yeah, arguably he was up there with Bijan Robinson for top running back in the class. But, pretty shocking to see a running back go that high. But yeah, overall though, a lot of things to like out of Jahmyr Gibbs' game, still a solid pickup nonetheless. So the next player we're going to go over here, taken with the 18th overall pick. Hailing out of Iowa, standing 6'4", weighing 250 pounds, we got linebacker Jack Campbell. So for Jack Campbell, he's your prototype tackling inside linebacker, besides he's a great finisher, about as big and wide as they come at linebacker, and it's very evident his enormous tackling radius. Some notes about him in his college career at Iowa, he had 299 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, 5 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 3 sacks. In 2022, he won the Butkus Award for the NCAA's top linebacker. He also won the 2022 William V. Campbell Trophy for the Academic Heisman. And also in 2022, he won the Knocker C. Woodson Defensive Player of the Year Award, which is the Big Ten's defensive MVP. And also, he won the 2022 Butkus Fitzgerald Linebacker of the Year Award, which goes to the Big Ten's top linebacker. He was also a unanimous All-American in 2022, and he's also made the All-Big Ten first team twice in 2021 and 2022. He was second among all FBS linebackers with a 91.7 overall grade for PFF in 2022. Also led all FBS linebackers in coverage grade on PFF with a 92.9 grade in 2022. Also led all FBS linebackers with 143 tackles in 2021. He's the second Iowa linebacker selected by the Lions in franchise history. The first since Wally Hillenberg in 1964. He's also the second Iowa linebacker to be taken in the first round. The first since the Minnesota Vikings took Chad Greenway all the way back in 2006. He's also the Lions' highest selected linebacker since Ernie Sims in 2006. And he's also the 4th Butkus Award winner to be drafted by the Lions. in franchise history, the other three being Teddy Lehman in 2003, Chris Claiborne in 1998, and Matt Russell in 1996. Some strengths about him. One of the leaders for a quietly dominant Iowa defense. He's the quarterback on the defensive side of the ball, plays the game with heightened instincts, long, strong inside linebacker, fast to react as a run defender, attacks downfield, consistently beats blockers to the spot, arrives with force when he meets the ball carrier. Passing game, does a nice job dropping the zone coverage, recognizes routes while keeping an eye on the backfield, has the length to squeeze passing lanes, shown some promises of savvy blitzer as well. In terms of his weaknesses, though, isn't the rangiest linebacker, a bit stiff as a mover, lacks the pure speed to truly go sideline to sideline. Gonna have a tough time matching up against running backs in coverage. Might have to come off the field on third downs early in his career. He's had a lot of NFL comparisons with free agent linebacker Benedict McKinney. Overall, though, he probably fits best playing Mike in a 3-4 alignment where he can attack downfield, isn't tasked with as much sideline-to-sideline movement. He figures to serve as a third linebacker early. Chance to develop into a long-term starter, though, in the future. Could. So, yeah, definitely could be a nice compliment piece for Malcolm Rodriguez in that linebacking core, because Red Rodriguez can't do it 100% off his own. This was a player I had on the Lions. I had on my board for the Lions. This was someone I thought would have gone in the second round, but obviously, Brad Holmes and company, they saw something different that made him worth the 18th overall pick in the first round. Because I had Jack Campbell in play for 48. I've heard a lot of reports saying he was going to go anywhere from 18 to 35. He was within that range. But yeah, still got a very solid inside linebacker to help complement the linebacking core. Because linebacker was a big-time need for the Lions that are in this draft. And they addressed it pretty well getting in Jack Campbell, someone I was pretty high on. So yeah, very solid pick. This was a player I wanted the Lions to take, and they got him. So yeah, I love this pick 100%. Nice job. So the next player we're going to go over here, taken with the 34th overall pick, which is what the Lions got when they traded down from 6 with the Arizona Cardinals, when the Cardinals did that blockbuster trade with the Texans. To trade down from 3 to 12 so Texans could move up for Will Anderson and all that. But anyway, with this pick, the Lions took, with the 34th pick, hailing out of Iowa, standing 6'4", weighing 250 pounds, they took tight end Sam Laporta. So for Sam, he's a prototype intangibles tight end, because he was a team offensive MVP and a team captain in 2022, so a leader of men right off the bat and a good locker room leader as well. He was also renowned for his effort and comfortable doing the dirty work. Some notes about him. In his college career, he had 153 receptions for 1,786 yards, averaging 11.7 yards per reception with 5 TDs. He left Iowa ranked first in receptions and second in receiving yards among all-time tight ends. So, yeah, his numbers at Iowa were better than T.J. Hawkinson's. Let me just put that in perspective. He led Iowa in receptions in 2020 with 27 receptions. Also led him in 2021 with 53 receptions. And in 2022 with 58 receptions. So a clean slate there. He made the All-Big Ten first team in 2022. He also won the 2022 Key Wallach-Clark Tight End of the Year Award for the Big Ten's top tight end. He had an 80.1 overall grade on PFF in 2022. He was second among all FBS tight ends with 20 missed tackles forced in 2022 per PFF. He was also the 2022 Iowa Offensive Team MVP, like I just previously mentioned. In 2022, he was a John Mackey Award finalist. And he made the All-Big Ten third team in 2021. And he also got an honorable mention to the All-Big Ten team in 2020. He's also the first tight end selected by the Lions in the second round since 1988. It's also the first time since 2017 that the Lions have taken players from the same school with consecutive picks. And he's also the fourth highest selected tight end in Iowa history. Some strengths about him. Latest product from Iowa's tight end pipeline. Was a highly productive pass catcher, cornerstone piece for the Hawkeyes the past 2 years. Savvy underneath target, gets into his routes quickly, wastes little motion and arriving at his spot. Very good at finding soft spots against zone coverage. Sure hands make him a reliable security blanket for QBs. Does a nice job keeping his feet under him, transitioning to a ball carrier after the catch. High effort blocker, should be able to hold his own as an H-back. In terms of weaknesses, though, there's not a lot to get excited about as far as the physical profile goes. Decent athlete, not explosive, won't threaten defenses up the seam. Not a twitched-up athlete. While he works as a blocker, he struggles to generate movement or sustain blocks against NFL defenders. He's not going to hold up in line. In terms of NFL comparison, has a lot of comparisons to Zach Ertz of the Philadelphia Eagles. And Zach's a very talented tight end. Overall, though, for him, Sam isn't dynamic. Might never be a true number one tight end. Could be and prove everyone wrong. That's always possible. But overall, though, Sam's reliable. Consistently gets to where he needs to as a route runner. Should stick in the league as a second tight end for a bit. But yeah, overall, a lot of things to like out of its game for sure. Also scored pretty well on his tests. Out of all the Iowa tight ends, was like right up there with George Kittle in a lot of the tests, you know. Hey, you know, could be a gem here, you know, because tight end was somewhat of a need for the Lions entering this draft with the Lions trade off T.J. Hawkinson. Even though they've done that tight end by committee because after they traded Hawkinson, the Lions got way more production out of that tight end spot than they did with Hawkinson. But yeah, maybe Sam could be groomed into the top number one tight end one day. Definitely a very solid choice here for sure. Really like this choice for sure. You know, solid pickup here from the Lions for sure to take Sam Laporta. A nice good weapon to complement Jared Goff, especially with Jameson Williams getting ready to serve a 6-game suspension. So our next player we're going to go over here, taken with the 45th overall pick and causing a lot of Green Bay Packer fans a lot of sadness and misery and rage, which is something you love to see. But taken with that 45th pick, the Lions took hailing out of Alabama, standing 6 feet tall, weighing 195 pounds. They took safety Brian Branch. So for Brian Branch, he's your prototype closing and recovery safety because he may not be a technician, but he has excellent burst to close on the ball from zone and also has the excellent burst to recover lost ground and man coverage. For his college career, had 172 tackles, 111 solo, of them being solo, had 23 passes defended, 19.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 1 fumble recovery. He's one of 2 FBS players to tally at least 20 passes defended and 4 sacks from 2020 to 2022. He also made the AP All-American second team in 2022. He was tied for 4th in the NCAA with 9 forced incompletions in 2022. 9th in FBS with 3.3 missed tackles percentage in 2022. Also had an 89.5 overall grade on PFF in 2022. Had 2 punt returns in 2022, with one of them he took back 68 yards for a touchdown. So he has some versatility there as a special teamers too. Of course, he was also a national champion with Alabama in college football in 2020, so he's a proven winner too. Tied for 3rd among SEC freshman defenders with 7 passes defended in 2020. Highest selected Alabama defender the Lions have ever taken in the common draft era. First defensive back the Lions have taken from Alabama since 2007, and he's the 4th highest overall player drafted by the Lions from Alabama. In terms of his strengths, you know, Nick Saban, he cross-trains his defensive backs, but Branch, he was the ultimate Swiss Army knife on the back end of the Alabama's defense, so he was a Swiss knife for Nick Saban. Lined up as a box safety, lined up as a corner, and he lined up as the star defender. He was the do-everything nickelback, who has to support the run as well as match up with big tight ends and smaller, shiftier slot receivers. Fluid mover, transitions with ease. While he doesn't have a big frame, does have long arms, is able to disrupt the catch point when he breaks on the ball and off man and zone coverage. Zone defender, he covers a lot of ground, shows excellent feel for recognizing route combinations working from all his alignments. He's at his best lining up over the slot, has exceptional reactive quickness for his size, and has the ability to mirror quickness. Also has the length to battle with tight ends. Run defender, his speed stands out when he works sideline to sideline. Long arms give him sufficient take-on skills. He's a twitched-up athlete, brings more pop than you expect as a tackler. Terms of weaknesses, though, lack prototypical size for play close to the line of scrimmage. Will have to prove he can hold up, not only working through traffic as a run defender, also against physical tight ends. He's more comfortable matching up in man coverage than playing zone. While his athleticism makes up for his missteps and hesitation, doesn't play with great feel when he rotates into a single high, deep safety role. In terms of NFL comparison, has a lot of comparisons to Justin Reid of the Kansas City Chiefs. But overall, though, Branch's athleticism, his instincts, and versatility will earn him an immediate starting job on that secondary. His best role is playing over the slot, with a chance to be a difference maker in neutralizing pass catchers in the middle of the field. You know, a lot of things to like out of him. Arguably, like, without a doubt, he was the top safety in this draft class. Like, it's kind of shocking that he fell all the way to 45. Like, the main reason he fell that far down in the draft order is mainly because safety's not a sexy pick. It's not a sexy pick like a wide receiver or a corner or, hell, even a quarterback. But, you know, a lot of things to like out of his game for sure. You know, definitely going to be a leader on this defense for sure in the long run. You know, especially, you know, depending on what happens with Tracy Walker, if he can recover after he tore his Achilles last year. And also, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is also on a one-year deal too. But yeah, Brian Branch is looking to be a long-term option in that secondary. Like, the Lions 100% upgrade that secondary and overhauled it. Because now adding Brian Branch to that secondary is going to be fucking deadly this season. But yeah, Brian Branch, a very good pick. I like this pick a lot. You know, very solid pick out of him. A very solid pick here for sure by the Lions to get him. So the next player we're going to go over here, taken with the 68th overall pick. Too bad it wasn't the 69th overall pick, giggity. But anyway, taken with that pick, the Lions took hailing out of Tennessee, standing at 6'3", weighing 220 pounds. We got quarterback Hendon Hooker. So some notes about Hendon Hooker. In his college career, Hendon had a 66.9 completion percentage, threw for 8,974 yards, had a touchdown interception ratio in college of 80 TDs to 12 interceptions. So that's pretty solid production there. Also had a passer rating of 172.2 in college. Also in his college career, he had 517 rushes for 2,079 yards, averaging 4 yards per run, with 25 rushing TDs, so he's very explosive with his legs, too. He can use them as a weapon as well. He was also the 2022 SEC Offensive Player of the Year, made the All-SEC First Team in 2022. He was also on the AP All-American Third Team in 2022. He also led at the FBS in average yards per pass attempt in 2022 at 9.35 yards per attempt. Also second in pass efficiency at 175.5 in 2022. He was also 7th in completion percentage in 2022 with a 69.6 completion percentage. Nice. He's also 3rd among FBS QBs with a turnover-worthy play percentage of 1.1% in 2022 per PFF. He's also 3rd in FBS in pass efficiency with in 2021 with 181.4 efficiency. He was also 4th in average yards per pass attempt with 9.72 yards per pass. He also spent his first 4 seasons of his NCAA career with Virginia Tech from 2017 to 2020. He's also the first ever QB to ever be selected by the Lions in the 3rd round in franchise history. Also the first offensive player the Lions have drafted from Tennessee since the Lions took center Glenn Stern back in 1984. And he's also the Lions' highest drafted offensive player from Tennessee since the Lions took guard John Gordy in 1957. Some strengths about Hooker. He arguably was the leading contender to win the Heisman in 2022 before torn ACL ended his season. Any hopes of that happening? He also undoubtedly showed NFL potential along the way. Like his ACL injury, it was the main thing that kept him from being a first-round pick. And why he fell all the way down here. But he undoubtedly showed NFL potential along the way. Traits are there, arm talent to make throws from difficult platforms, enough athleticism to make an impact with his legs on design runs and scrambles. Showed a willingness to play aggressively but not recklessly with his decision making. Was willing to give his playmakers a chance to make plays. In terms of his weaknesses, though, he's already 25. He'll likely have to redshirt his rookie year due to the torn ACL he suffered back in November. But, it's 50-50 on if he's going to be good to go by the start of the season or not. That's yet to be seen. However, even pre-injury, he was looking at a difficult transition in the NFL after playing with a very talented supporting cast in the system that bears little resemblance to anything he'll ever run in the NFL. Tennessee's not unlike the old Baylor offense, is heavy on half-field reads and exploits the extra large field size, which is created by college football's wide hash marks. Even before you consider the athleticism of NFL defenders, the geometry of the Foles offense is not replicatable in the pros. In terms of pro comparison, he was compared to Jamie Newman of the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL. But overall, though, his age and system, it's going to be held against him for a little bit. But the tools are there, and he could, at the start, he could be a short-term backup, but could have a chance to be molded into a playmaking starter under the right circumstances. And he will be in a pretty good position to succeed because the Lions got a pretty good O-line. They got a pretty good running back core with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And they also got some pretty talented receivers, too, with Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and also bringing in Sam Laporta for tight end. So he'll have a very good supporting cast, and he'll have a great mentoring under Jared Goff. So, yeah, the Lions may have their quarterback of the future right here with Hendon Hooker. But even with Hooker here, let me just say one more thing for 2023. This is still Jared Goff's team for at least one more year. Maybe 2 more years, like 100% Hendon Hooker's just going to learn behind Goff until Goff's contract is up. Because Goff's contract is coming up and the Lions going to have to make a choice here. Do they extend him or will they trade him off? That's yet to be seen. But yeah, definitely Goff's going to be learning, he's going to be definitely mentoring Hendon Hooker up. Because it was looking likely that the Lions might be looking at making Hendon Hooker the QB of the future for the Lions. A lot of things to like out of his game for sure. Very mobile, which is one of the things that you need in this league to pretty much be successful as a mobile QB. So, yeah, and he could do a lot of things as a mobile QB. So, a lot of things to like out of Hendon Hooker's game for sure, we'll come back to Hendon Hooker on if this was a good pick or not in a couple years, because drafting a franchise quarterback, it's very hard to do, but I think, Hendon Hooker could become a good quarterback under this circumstance with the Lions. Great supporting cast, gonna have a great coaching staff too. A great leader of men with Tennessee. A lot of things to like out of him for sure, But plus, that injury was the main thing that kept him out of the first round. So, I think it was a steal getting him at 68. Now it's just let him heal and let him recover. So, the next player we're going to go over here for the Lions, taken with the 96th overall pick in the draft. Hailing out of West Kentucky, standing 6'5", weighing 337 pounds, we got Broderick Martin. So for Broderick, he has an NFL frame, enormous, has big potential stuffing the run, so looking to have him be a run-stuffing defender. In his college career, he had 62 tackles at West Kentucky, 27 solo, 6 tackles for a loss, 2.5 sacks, 1 pass defended, and 1 fumble recovery in his 2 years at West Kentucky. He was also an honorable mention to the Conference USA team in 2022. He also was a participant in the 2023 East-West Shrine Bowl, which was a game that Brad Holmes scouts a lot and looks at. He started all 14 games as a redshirt senior in 2022 at West Kentucky. Had 4.5 tackles for a loss and 2.5 sacks as a redshirt junior in 2021 at West Kentucky. In his 3 years at North Alabama from 2018 to 2020, he had 81 tackles, 37 solo, 9 tackles for a loss, 4 passes defended, and 2 sacks. He also had multiple seasons in 19 to 25 games, multiple tackles in 19 to 25 games at North Alabama, and at least half a tackle for a loss in 12 games. Also the second player the Lions have selected from West Kentucky, the first since they took tackle Bill Curry in 1958. He's also the second West Kentucky defensive tackle to be selected in the NFL draft and the first since 1990. He's also the second highest drafted West Kentucky defensive lineman. So yeah, Lions getting a run stuffer for the defensive line to help anchor that line and complement Lee McNeil, and also try and get some pressure off of Aiden Hutchinson so that Hutchinson doesn't get double or triple team every play. Maybe also get some pressure off James Houston too, so the problem can continue being a problem for the opposing quarterback. And also Hutchinson can also get more pressure to that QB as well. So, very solid pickup by the Lions here. Hey, the Lions have usually struck gold in the third round with Brad Holmes so far. Because let me mention a few of Brad Holmes' third-round picks. The two most notable third-round picks in Brad Holmes' 2 years in the third round have been Lee McNeil and Kirby Joseph. So the last time the Lions took a defensive tackle in the third round, it was Lee McNeil. And he turned out pretty good, so Brad Holmes is hoping that lightning strikes twice here. Which I have a very strong feeling it could strike twice here, One of the things to like out of Broderick Martin's resume in this game, one of the things to like out of him, like this pick for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, taken with the 152nd overall pick, hailing out of Williams and Mary. I had no fucking clue this was even a college school until the Lions made this pick, by the way. So, hey, you learn something new every day. Because William & Mary's is one of those smaller college schools that nobody fucking knows about. But yeah, definitely a small school stud here. Standing 6'6", weighing 301 pounds, we got offensive tackle Kobe Shoresdale. Shoresdale. But yeah, anyway, though, for everything about Kobe, he started 46 games at Williams & Mary. He was a participant in the 2023 East-West Shrine Bowl, just like Broderick Martin. So yeah, he was a player that was heavily scouted by Brad Holmes. He was also a FCS All-American on the first team in 2022. He also made the All-CAA first team in 2022. Didn't allow any sacks in 2022. He also had the third best PFF run blocking grade among FCS tackles in 2022 with a grade of 89.2. He was also a team captain for Williams & Mary in 2022, so a leader of men and a good locker room presence there. Also helped Williams & Mary rank third in the FCS with 265.8 rushing yards a game in 2022. Also made the All-CAA third team in 2021. He's the second player from Williams & Mary to be drafted by the Lions since 1970. The first since the Lions took since the linebacker Craig McCurdy in 1976. He's also the first offensive product from Williams & Mary to be drafted by the Lions. Highest drafted player from Williams & Mary since defensive back B.W. Webb was taken 114th overall in 2013. And he's the highest drafted offensive player out of Williams & Mary since quarterback Chris Haskell went 112th overall in 1992. He's also the first offensive lineman the Lions have selected in the 5th round since 2018. So yeah, with Kobe Shoresdale, it's very obvious here the Lions looking to get a rotational piece in that defensive line and also somebody to help for another body for training camp battles too. Be a rotational piece in that offensive line. Could have the versatility to go to guard too. Could rotate around an offensive line. Take some snaps here to sub out for Decker and Penei Sewell. Definitely someone that could come into place for heavy run plays. The run block and open some lanes up for Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Kobe in his resume. A small school, for someone from the small school area, which is where Brad Holmes did some scouting there. Hey, last year the Lions got James Houston out of that small school area with Jackson State last year, and he turned out to be pretty solid. So maybe the Lions are hoping they could do something like that again here. Definitely, though, a lot of things to like out of him, Think it's a solid pickup here for sure. And, of course, the final pick, the final player we're going to talk about in this video, we have taken with the 219th overall pick, hailing out of North Carolina, standing 6'2", weighing 199 pounds. We got wide receiver Anton Green. So for Anton, some notes about Anton. Had 90 receptions in his college career for North Carolina for 1,710 yards, averaging 19 yards per reception, and along with 15 receiving TDs. He also had the ACC and was ranked 5th in the FBS with 19.0 receiving average with a minimum of 90 receptions from 2018 to 2022. So very productive there. Big explosive playmaker. He was also made the All-SEC third team in 2022. Led North Carolina with 18.56 yards per reception in 2022. He also recorded the 13th longest catch in North Carolina team history for the Tar Heels in 2022 when he had an 80-yard touchdown reception, if you want to watch some tape there about him. Was ranked second in the ACC, 12th nationally, with 19.7 yards per reception in 2021. Finished 2021 with the 5th best average with 19.7 yards per reception in single season team history with a minimum of 30 receptions. He also was an adverse team high, also had an average team high 27.1 yards per reception in 2019. He's the first Lions wide receiver the Lions have drafted in the 7th round since 2010. The first wide receiver the Lions have ever selected out of North Carolina in that Tar Heels program. And he's the third offensive player the Lions have drafted from North Carolina in the common draft era. Overall, though, a lot of things to like out of him for sure. Probably looking to be like a slot receiver or a best, potentially looking at special teams early on in his career, though. Could maybe become wide receiver 3, depending on what happens with the team, since Marvin Jones only came back on a 1-year deal. And most of the receiving core right now is between Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, but, he could get some reps early on in the receiver position, though, due to Jameson Williams' 6-game suspension for gambling on college games in the Lions team facility, which is kind of a dumb rule, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, overall, though, a lot of things to like him. Was a very explosive playmaker, gained a lot of yards on the catch, very explosive. A lot of things to like out of his game for sure, could be one of those late-round gems that Brad Holmes found that diamond in the rough maybe here. Time will tell there, but, a lot of things to like out of Anton Green's game for sure. But yeah, anyway, that'll wrap it up here for this Detroit Lions 2023 NFL Draft Class. So let's make a rundown of all these players here. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Hendon Hooker, Broderick Martin, Kobe Shoresdale, Anton Green. Welcome these 8 names to the One Pride. Overall, though, like this draft class a lot. Brad Holmes did a lot of great things with this draft class. He effectively addressed every area of need the Lions had left. One thing he didn't address, though, was the tight end. Not tight end, the edge rusher. But I guess the Lions are pretty set on edge rusher, probably going to have James Houston up there. Or, but I think they're pretty comfortable with what they got at edge rusher, with John Kaminsky, James Houston, and the Aguara brothers as well. So maybe the Lions felt they were comfortable there. Also having Aiden Hutchinson in there too helps as well. But, a lot of things to like out of draft class for sure. Like Brad Holmes addressed almost every weakness area there was and overhauled and upgraded everything on the team. Especially the secondary. Like, he 100% overhauled that secondary, which was a massive problem last year. But he addressed it pretty well. He also addressed the linebacking core, which was a massive weakness for the Lions for years. Also upgrade the running back core. Got a solid receiver in Anton Green to help maybe take some pressure off. To help while J-Mo serves his 6-game ban. And another rotational player for the offensive line for the run game. To help open some lanes up for Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. But overall, a lot of things to like out of this class. For a draft grade, let's be honest, draft grades mean fuck all with this draft. Mean fuck all until we see the actual product on the field. Like, I'm going to say this grade, I'm going to give it like an A-, B+. It's around that territory. It's borderline between those two. Like, I know a lot of experts have shitted on this draft class. Let's be honest here. The main reason the experts have shitted on this draft class and gave it a terrible grade, it wasn't because of the players the Lions selected. It was simply because of where they were selected. Because if you take a few of the players the Lions are selecting and swap them around, the experts would probably give this class an A grade. But it's just based on where they were taken. But at the end of the day, draft grades don't mean a fucking thing until we see the product on the field. So, yeah, I'm not really too concerned about draft grades, I say just wait and see the product on the field until we grade it for sure. Plus, you really can't grade a draft class legitimately until like 4 or 5 years down the line. Around that range is when you can really appropriately grade a draft class. But, yeah, overall, though, a lot of things to like out of this class. You know, some very good, talented playmakers here. I mean, once Jamison Williams come back, I mean, having him and Jahmyr Gibbs on that offense, that's going to be a pretty deadly offense, too. And, you know, whether Hendon Hooker can mold up into the franchise QB or not is yet to be seen. Definitely is a solid backup option for sure. Definitely an upgrade over fucking Nate Sudfeld, because Nate Sudfeld fucking sucks ass. But overall, though, a lot of things to like out of this class. I'm going to talk about the undrafted free agents probably either tomorrow or Saturday. But yeah, anyway, that'll wrap it up here. That's all I got to say. Hope everyone's a great day, and I'll see you all whatever I make next. I'm out.